Hey everybody, Dr. Jared Skowron from Spectrum Awakening. Let's start off with some common causes of anger, because there's just not one size fits all when it comes to our emotions. What makes us happy? What makes us sad? What makes me angry? That kind of thing. So there's multiple different causes, and it's always hard to understand things when you've got a child who's nonverbal or doesn't have, full communication skills, because we can't really get to that emotional core of why are you angry. So a few things for people to think about. Number one, is this an anger that comes with an obvious behavioral trigger? Okay, most common is the word no. Like, can I have my iPad? No. Anger. Okay, can I have this? No. Anger. All right. Another common place for our kids who are, don't have good verbal ability, don't have good verbal communication, but understand that that verbal communication is the way to get what you want. They may be, smart enough to see their siblings be able to use their mouth and say words and get what they want, and then they try to do it. They recognize they can't do it, and they get upset. Okay, which is understandable, but also very good. It's a very good mental process that they've put those pieces together. If I do this, use mouth noises, I get what I want, and I see other people doing that. I try to, and I recognize I'm not succeeding. And so it's a great ability to have that thought process, and another common cause of frustration. So it's either the word no, not getting what I want, or not being able to get what I want. All right. And then another common reason for anger is pain. So it's kind of a separate issue when we have a physical cause for the anger versus a behavioral cause for the anger, that you've got to make sure that your child is not in some kind of pain. So common causes of pain are teething. All right. If this pain has come on and come off, if you think that your child has wiggly teeth, or they might be starting to push a tooth, they're going to be upset. Okay, and there's common times for this in your life. You've got the young kids and the 2 years old, 2 through 5, then you got the 6-year molars. So and then older than that, you got the grown-up teeth coming in. So there's so many different reasons for that pain. One of them, very common, is teething. Okay, the next common pain issues for our kids, is either gut issues. So many of our kids have gut infections. I've already seen H. pylori and C. diff and candida just this week in a few of our kids. You could have parasites, you could have other bacterial infections, etc. You could just be eating a food that you can't digest. I mean, how many of us have eaten a food, I got a bellyache from that food? What if the belly aches from food or from bad digestion? So gut pain is an extremely common arena, whether it's not being able to digest something like lactose, something simple like that, or more severe when we got some kind of infection in the gut. The other place, and a lot of those kids will either have abnormal bowels or a lot of gas, or they'll push on their belly. Those are signs that they may have stomach pain. A lot of our kids also have headaches or have migraines, and those are the kids who are going to headbang. Those are going to be the kids who like to have their head rubbed. Obvious physical signs that, hey, I've got a problem here and I want to make it better by touching it. Sometimes gentle, sometimes hard, okay? So those are the kind of common reasons for pain that I want you to be on the lookout for. I guess we can also throw in there growing pains, where growing pains are, excuse me, they don't come on that often. Every few months, you might have a week of complaining and pain. They may be rubbing their legs, they may be rubbing their arms. I mean, it's usually the bones around the knee that are the most common for joint pains, but it could, I guess, happen anywhere. But look at those things. Do I have growing pains? Do I have teething pains? Do I have a headache or a migraine? Do I have some kind of stomach pain from bad digestion or infection? So that's kind of the pain arena, and each one of those is going to be addressed differently. Obviously, if you've got a digestive issue, we need to make sure we digest, give you digestive enzymes. If you're not digesting the meal, kill any infections that are there. If you've got a headache or a migraine, it's probably food induced. Should we change some of our foods? Most common foods are going to be dairy or artificial colors or anything that has any kind of histamine in it. Those are the typical migraine triggers. And it can also be mitochondrial problems. So those with mitochondrial dysfunction will often have headaches or migraines. So kind of another layer of why this stuff is happening. Obviously, we can't get around the teething pain, but the timing, and you can kind of, know that it's very temporary. Now let's move on to those behavioral issues, because that kind of anger is much more common. So going back to the behavioral issues of, you said no, I didn't get what I want, or I want something and I'm not getting what I want. Those are kind of the common triggers for the anger. And many parents are already going to have an idea that that's the reason. You know how to change things in your house to kind of avoid those temper tantrums and to avoid that anger. Sometimes it might be so extreme you're walking on eggshells. Everybody's just trying to do the exact right thing so we don't get an argument or get a temper tantrum, okay? So that's what I want you to be thinking about. Now, how can we help naturally with that anger? Again, going back to the pain issues, you've got to address the cause of the pain, whether that's a headache or a migraine from mitochondrial problems or from some kind of food reaction, whether it's a stomach pain from some kind of digestive problem or infection. You can get a stool test and figure out the GI stuff. We can do oat tests and look for the mitochondrial stuff. You can play around with the diet for the headaches. Now, let's get into that other category where we tend to use a lot of natural supplements to help mediate that frustration, okay? It's okay to be angry. You know, we all emotions are good. We want, you know, sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're scared, sometimes we're angry. All symptoms, all emotions that we're all going to have, but we do need to learn and teach our children how to control our actions when we do have these behaviors. Obviously, we're dealing with kids on the spectrum. Those kind of lessons and, saved for ABA are going to be longer to learn. But we can help naturally with natural supplements. So let me kind of explain stepwise how this happens. Great question coming up from Kimona right now about mild tantrums once a week. She says, do I use temper tamer or anger management? Perfect question, Kimona. This is what I'm going to get into right now. So when we look at anger and frustration across the board, this isn't just kids on the spectrum, this is everybody. There's a two-step process. Step number one is how easily do I get angry? Okay, is it just one little thing that sets me off, or does it take a lot for me to finally get upset and kind of spill over? So those people who are very easily triggered, if you've got a quick fuse, if you've got a short fuse, a quick trigger, you're really walking on eggshells because any little thing can set you off. That is often due to an abnormality in our cortisol hormone. Cortisol is known as our stress hormone, and I kind of call it how much stress can I handle hormone, okay? Because the more cortisol you have within a certain level, the more stress you're going to be able to handle, and the lower cortisol we see so many times with so many of our kids and with our grown-ups, the lower cortisol, the lower threshold for stress. So if you've got somebody where it's a quick trigger kind of situation, you're going to want to use supplements that help with balance your cortisol. I'm a huge fan of our Temper Tamer supplement. I take this myself. These are different herbs that will help balance cortisol levels, okay? You can also use adrenal cortex glandulars. We've got a supplement called Sanity Saver. I think the Temper Tamer works better, but the powder inside those capsules tastes like black licorice. Kind of a love-hate sort of thing. So if you don't like that taste, you can use adrenal cortex like our Sanity Saver as an option. It'll really help with that quick trigger. Okay. Once somebody's been triggered, they're going to go into some kind of reaction. And that reaction is normally a fight or flight reaction. Now, fight or flight is 3 words, not one. It's fight or it's flight. So it's one or the other. Most people don't have both reactions. So I'm going to walk you through the different types of reactions, what they mean, and how we can work with them. A flight reaction is going to be one of avoidance, okay? You're doing something to me. I don't like it, I'm gonna push you away, okay? So I may hit you defensively, okay? I might bite myself, okay? A lot of the kids love to bite right there, or the thumb, so they'll bite themselves, but it's only to handle their frustration, and they're not fighting, they're protecting themselves, okay? So they may be pushing you away, but they're not going after you, okay? And then they kind of go into their own place and have their temper tantrum. That's a flight response. Then there's these other kids who have fight responses, and the fight responses are exactly that. These kids who are aggressive, sometimes it's aggressive with reason, sometimes it's aggressive with no reason. They're biting, they're hitting, they're kicking. They are definitely going after you versus just trying to be in their safe place. And it's kind of a fine line to differentiate between the two sometimes, but those are that's the difference between a fight or a flight. If you've got, Kelly just said my son bites his hand. There's so many do. It's an easy way for me to calm myself down. I can calm myself down. So if you've got a fighter, what I would suggest is trying the anger management supplement, okay? And again, super popular. We just got it back on our website yesterday, and you guys blew out through our first load of anger management. We got more coming, but it's great stuff. So that's kind of the difference. And you can use both, all right? And if you've got that quick trigger kid, go with the cortisol supplements like the temper tamer. If you've got an angry kid, I would go with the anger management. You can use both, okay? Now, you can test for these things if you want to, for which one you should use, or you can just try them, okay? And I'm gonna go through some of the scientific research behind them all, but it never hurts to just try some stuff because so many things work for so many kids, but don't work for all kids. That's why we've got a 30-day return policy on our products. You wanna try something, get it, try it, okay? If it doesn't work, if your kid doesn't like it, you change your mind, send it back for a refund. I would rather, we've got this refund policy because I would rather you try something and send it back than not try it at all, because there's so many different things that can help your child. All right, let's get into the scientific research. Okay, and Holly just put up something really quick. My son typically goes into tantrums when he's denied access to a toy or a snack. That is the perfect description of cortisol. That's a cortisol imbalance, Holly. I want to see how he does on temper tamer, okay? Let's get into some of the scientific research behind it. I feel a lot of these kids' anger reactions have to do with a problem with a gene called MAOA, okay? MAOA is a gene that you can test on different genetic SNP tests. So we got a genetic SNP test on our website if you want to get one done, or maybe you already have had your genetic SNP test done. Look for MAOA because that is the gene that helps remove adrenaline from your body. And if you can't remove adrenaline, you're going to get built up with this fight or flight response, okay? And that's how anger management helps. Anger management helps reduce the adrenaline in the brain when your MAO gene is not working, okay? I know a lot of people get involved in other genes like MTHFR, which are totally important, but I don't want you to rule out other important genes as well. So let's get into some of the research studies here. Here's autism severity is associated with the child's and the mother's MAOA genotype, okay? So here it is, activity of this MAO gene I can't read too well backwards. People with MAO gene mutations on the autism spectrum have more severe sensory behaviors. They have regulation problems and aggression and worse social communication skills. So that's what that all says there. I just can't read it too well in the reflection. All right. Here's another one. From aggression to autism, monoamine oxidase deficiencies. Again, this was an animal study, but talked about the role of MAOA in neurobiology and antisocial conduct. Okay. Here's another one. MAOA activity, behavior sequelae of monoamine oxidase deficiency that talks about a lot of antisocial and aggressive behavior. So we see a lot of that, in the research, that MAOA gene, you have it not working, okay? And that inhibits your ability to remove adrenaline from your brain. More adrenaline, more anger, more antisocial, you see it there in the research, plain as day. How do we treat it? Well, we treat it with certain vitamin supplements, which we have here in our anger management. This is things like vitamin B2 and some magnesium and some lithium orotate, okay? So great things to help reduce adrenaline. Now, other brain things that are adding to the anger have to do with a protein called glutamate, okay? Glutamate is a protein that stimulates the brain. It hits the accelerator, all right? So here's a research study about autism associated with certain type of encephalitis and how that's related to glutamate. We see here, sorry, I'm gonna turn it so I can read a little better. Dysfunctional glutamate neurotransmission, how glutamate works in the brain, is associated with psychiatric symptoms such as psychosis, hallucinations, and personality changes, okay? That has to do not with the adrenaline, but with the glutamate. But they're very similar chemicals in the brain. They're both stimulants, all right? So here's another one that talks about the role of glutamate and its receptors in autism and the use of glutamate receptor antagonists, which I'll get in a bit. Glutamate is the major excitatory neurotransmitter in the brain and a key neurotransmitter involved in autism, okay? Because glutamate is a stimulant and so many of our kids are overstimulated, what we want to do is stop glutathione from working in the brain or not work as much. That's why they have these glutamate receptor antagonist treatments, which are basically not allowing glutamate to hit the brain, okay? Petite just said, where do we go online to buy it? I will tell you in a minute. It's all on our website, Spectrum Awakening, but let me get you the coupon so you can use the coupon. So we want to make sure we reduce glutamate levels, okay? And here's another study. Again, this is an animal study. but it talks about, ironically, anger management, mechanisms of glutamate receptor mediated animal aggression, okay? Because we know this happens. What we've done with our anger management supplement here is use different natural proteins, amino acids, that take glutamate, which is causing a lot of aggression, a lot of excitement, and turn it into glutathione. Now, glutathione is the most important antioxidant in the body, not just autism, but for everybody. So in addition to reducing adrenaline levels, we reduce glutamate levels and increase glutathione, okay? And the impact of glutathione metabolism is very important in autism, as existing data supports that, geez, sorry, I can't read today. Existing data support a protective role of glutathione in autism. That's what all that highlighted stuff says, okay? Here's another research study that talks about the impact of glutathione metabolism in autism. Again, sorry, I can't read this too well. Brain cell death, what they use as neuronal apoptosis, and mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria produce energy for the brain to develop, are recently outlined as significant factors linking glutathione impairments with the cause of autism, okay? So again, I'll just highlight this so you can see it for yourself. All has to do with glutathione, mitochondria, and autism. So if we can increase glutathione levels, we're gonna help with brain repair. So we're reducing the glutamate to help with the anger. We're reducing the adrenaline to help with the anger. We're increasing glutathione to help with repair and overall spectrum and recovery. So it's a great way to use all of it and do all of that. So again, when we've got kids on the spectrum, when you're concerned with anger, okay, how can we help? You've got to figure out where the anger is coming from. Is the anger coming from pain? Is it the pain of a growth pain, of teething, of migraines, of gut problems, okay? If you think it's a migraine issue, get a mitochondrial test done, like the MitoSwab, which we have on our website, or an oat test, which we have on our website, or a stool test, which we have on our website. So if you want to get them through our website, you can. If you want to get them through your doctor, you can. But those are the things to go look at, all right? Next, if you've just got somebody who reacts really quickly, all right? If it's a quick trigger, quick fuse kind of thing, one little no is going to set everybody off. I want you to work on cortisol. That's with our temper tamer supplement, okay? Here's the last research study of the day. Talks about hair cortisol level and self-injuring behavior with autism, because they've seen it. This is just one research study out of many. Time and time again, if your cortisol is abnormal, you're gonna get angry and you're gonna react. And we talked about the kids hitting themselves, biting themselves. They don't know what else to do, okay? They're not gonna talk it through with their therapist. So you've gotta use the temper tamer if you've got that quick reaction. But if you've always got the fighters, then, get that anger management, reduce the adrenaline, reduce the glutamate, convert it to glutathione. It's like a 3-in-1 kind of supplement, which is awesome. All right, and you can use both.